Welcome back, everyone. We're so grateful that you're staying with us. This is week 6 of the Relentless Courage of a Scared Child. Before we get into the big lessons or takeaways from the book, we have 2 winners that we're going to report this week. One from Crayboy. I have learned a lot of valuable information. My 16-year-old daughter deals with ADHD, anxiety, depression, and at times suicidal thoughts. This podcast has been very helpful and given me great tools as I work to help her. We love that. That is one of the reasons we do this. So Crayboy will be one of our winners this week. So as we wrap up the Relentless Courage of a Scared Child, what do you think are some of the big lessons to take away from the Salvation Army, from your crazy childhood, cancer, Playboy, your dad, your sisters, just all of the incredible people we really meet in this book?
So I think the first big lesson, and I know this isn't just about me. I mean, I know that my life, as crazy as it was, is actually not that uncommon. So I know so many people are going through similar situations with being asked to take care of family that they don't really want to get involved with. One of the big lessons is when you argue with God, you often rob yourself of an opportunity to heal and to grow. And so that was a big one for me, because I just could not have anticipated over and over again. I mean, I kept making the same mistake, but over and over again that I was being asked to do and called to do certain things that I didn't want to do. And even though I was being asked to help, it gave me an opportunity to heal old, deep hurts and wounds. And that doesn't mean not drawing boundaries. It doesn't mean there aren't some people that you just know you can't have in your life because it's just a little too toxic. Or you help them from a distance. You love them, from a distance. But when you know that it's, you're being nudged to do something and you don't, you really rob yourself of that opportunity to heal.
Well, I think another lesson is there's just a lot of reasons why people do what they do. It's not simple, and it's easy to call people bad. It's harder to ask why. And that comes out in the book over and over.
It does. I mean, it's, I think 2 of my favorite chapters are probably the chapter with my dad, the prodigal father, and then the chapter with my sister, because they were 2 of the hardest people for me to sort of reconnect with and bond with. And it was very, very difficult. But my sister said something to me when I was at my wit's end with her. She said something to me that just really made a transformation in my own thinking. And that was, I'm so much more than my addiction. It sounds so simple. It sounds so like just a few simple words. But it really struck me because I had been seeing her as an addict, as opposed to this complicated person who has her own trauma, her own issues. She just handles them differently than I do. And I remember for her birthday, the one thing she asked me for, I said, what can I get you for your birthday? And she said, you can go with me to an AA meeting. And I was like, absolutely not. Anything else? Like, what can I buy you for your birthday? And she's like, no, you insisted that I go to church with you. This is what I want. I had been so just adamantly against going to an AA meeting because I just felt like as much work as I had done, I still had trouble being around people who were still struggling with addiction. I could do it if I were in the position of teaching. It was really hard for me to go in the position of just listening. And being in the position of just listening was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had. When you're teaching, you're not listening. When I was there just listening, I was like, the pain that I heard, they weren't making light of their addictions. The pain I heard, the anguish I heard. Yes, sometimes they make jokes in order to survive it, to deal with it. But I was just like, wow, I mean, this is intense. And I really got a whole new perspective. So it was very interesting.
I remember that day that you went, and It really blew you away.
It blew me away. Yeah. I was just, and she didn't even really realize, like, I was so quiet, and she's like, I'm sorry I made you do that. And I'm like, no, I'm so glad I did that. Yeah, and I realized that I was resisting going because I was still struggling with my own pain. I was still struggling with my own wounds from the past.
Well, and in some ways it really fits with society, because society today is a lot of us versus them,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Republicans or Democrats, conservatives, liberals, Americans, not Americans. It's
Black and white.
Us versus them.
Right.
People have problems with drugs, people don't have problems with drugs. Whenever we see them as separate from us, it's easy to judge them. It's easy to call them stupid or bad or incompetent or whatever term you might use. But, there by the grace of God go all of us, from, people could have had a head injury from that almost missed accident that so many people had, or bad thing
trauma,
that happened.
And you're right.
In life. It just affects so many people. So I think what people can take away from the book is empathy, is learning how to decrease judgment and increase empathy.
Well, and that's one of the things in the first chapter that I talk about, is when I was able to stop seeing me versus them, when I was, talking to a group of people with addiction, I was able to see us all in that same place when we were all kids. When we all grew up in trauma. We all had, we were all scared children at one point. And when I could find that common ground, which I think in society, just like you just said, if we could be Americans first before we are all these other things, if we could be human, just human first. And people who, need help, and just help one another, as opposed to, all these labels we give each other. If we could find that common ground, which for me was scared children. For me, that common ground was scared children. I was able to then build a bridge instead of a wall.
So who in your life do you see as separate, as different, maybe as less than you? And our brain imaging work just teaches us over and over again, so easy to call people bad. It's much harder to go, why, in those 4 circles we always talk about. Is there biological issues, brain issues? Is there psychological issues, particularly trauma? Is there social issues? What's the modeling that you've experienced? And is there spiritual issues? Why do you care? What are your values? What are your sense of morality? All of those things matter. We're so grateful that you joined us. What'd you learn today? Write it down. Many of you have done this, and we're just really grateful. Write it down, take a picture, and post it on any of your social media sites and hashtag Brain Warriors Way Podcast. You can also go to brainwarriorswaypodcast.com, leave us a comment, question, or review. We'll enter you into a drawing. Crayboy was our winner today, and end up with, we'll send you a signed copy of The End of Mental Illness, or Tana's cookbook, or her brand new book when it comes out January 5th, The Relentless Courage of a Scared Child. You can also sign up for our free event, December 12th at 9:30 Pacific time. You're going to love it. We have great speakers, overcoming anxiety, depression, trauma, and grief.
And by the way, it will enter you into a drawing when you sign up to win a free scan and full evaluation at Amen Clinics. You have to actually be at the event, though. You can't just sign up. You have to actually be at the event because the content's going to be so helpful and so wonderful, and you'll be able to share it afterwards if you want with someone you love. But you got to be at the event, the live event, in order to win the scan. So go to tanaamen.com/event. If you're enjoying the Brain Warriors Way podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always know when there's a new episode. And while you're at it, feel free to give us a review or 5-star rating, as that helps others find the podcast.
If you're considering coming to Amen Clinics or trying some of the brain healthy supplements from BrainMD, you can use the code podcast10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com or a 10% discount on all supplements at brainmdhealth.com. For more information, give us a call at 855-978-1363.